Good morning, everyone. My name is Peter Leduc. Uh, David Fredette writes the poems, and Peter Leduc, recite them. Uh, all my literary work can be found at davidfredettebooks.com. You can see it on my handle, davidfredettebooks.com. Um, and I'm going to recite 33 poems. Um, I'm working on a catalog of 175. I'm at 33 now. And the first poem I'm going to recite is titled Winter. And it goes, cold as the absence of heat. Winter blasts of blizzard warnings and long dark mornings cast a spell of dry wit and empty fists as I drown the horrors my future presents. Cast in faith, gray between night and day, I fetch another log with my hard-earned pay. Gather up twigs of my discontent, strike up some new ideas with the last match spent on time I borrowed from New Year's. Now I'm out. While sources attracted to sink, I still need a blanket. That poem is in my book, All Cartoons, Not Chess in a Relationship. Uh, and the next poem, poem number 2, is titled Shipwreck. And it goes, the crew awoke on a massive slab of driftwood. It began to pour. We failed to see dawn. Yet there are no gray moments to reflect on. The flash of a favorable past persists when we buy stock in character at every unfortunate miss. Brighter days may prevail again, and frequent praise for the individuals. Those strong beings who got us there should be paramount to oneself. Poem number 3 is He Walked a Mile and Swam Back. This is a true story about my dad. He's 96 years old now. Still kicking, alive and kicking. And it goes, he walked a mile and swam back. What began as nonchalant resulted in a rigorous act. For he was 80. I walked with him, not ruling out the notion that he may be fading. But when we reached the beach's end, we turned around and walked into the ocean. It was at this point, he said with his backstroke, catch me if you can. So I used the backstroke, the side stroke, and freestyle. I made it all of 200 feet, but that of the greatest generation swam the full mile. That's poem number 3. Poem number 4. Um, this is the only poem that I did not write out of the 175 I want to recite, or David Fredette did not write. um, it's called "How Long Have You Been a Sailor?" And it goes and hold on. It was required that I learn this saying or poem when I attended the fine university, the State University of New York Maritime College in the Bronx. And so I was required, among many other things I had to learn, this saying. And it's, how long have you been a sailor? So ask me, how long have I been a sailor? How long have you been a sailor, Peter Leduc? Sir, all my blue in life, sir, Me father was King Neptune, my mother was a mermaid. I was born on the crest of a wave and rocked in the cradle deep. My eyes are spars, my teeth are spars, my hair is hemp and seaweed, and when I spits, I spits tar, ice tough as I am my arse, sir. That is poem number 4. Poem number 5 is a short little poem. It's the last poem of my first book, Latent Heat a Year's Worth. Short little poem, and it's titled A Year's Up. And it goes, week after week, writer's block after writer's block. The reservoir of thought can now collect in the coffers of my cranium as I rest with contentment. I'll say it again. A year's up. Week after week, writer's block after writer's block. The reservoir of thought can now collect in the coffers of my cranium as I rest with contentment. Period. Okay, moving on. Poem number 6 is titled, Are Americans Racist? And it goes, peel the onion further. We have a universal bias as I struggle with bona fide mania and dim melancholy. I still have inalienable rights, like low-income housing and disability bennies. But yours truly committed at the toss of a lighter. $1,200 later, eggshells support my tiptoe around constant scrutiny and a table book of jobs. So bias doesn't stop at race. It's in health, gender, sexual preference, as well as creed. We all have our mountains to scale. Ignorance gravitates some masses back to race camp, while others overcome with the oxygen of a creator. Just breathe. Poem number 7 is Girlfriends. And it goes, your smile sends this once imprisoned soul channeling through uncharted territory. Your kindness keeps my once throbbing lonely heart off the rocks of complete destitution. Your love fills my once skeletal life with some meat to chew on. Your ass cures this once seaman's curiosity with a great bucking. That was poem number 7, Girlfriend. Again, if you want to learn more about my poetry and storybooks, I recommend you go to davidfredettebooks.com. That's David, D-A-V-I-D, Fred, that's F-R-E-D-E-T-T-E, books, BOOKS.com. And I recommend you read the storybooks first. The 2 storybooks are The Jesuit, A Christian Gets His Wings, and Walk in Faith and Eat When You're Hungry, The Jesuit on Steroids. They're about 50 to 60 pages long, quick reads. But I recommend reading the storybooks first before you dive into the poetry books. You can read the poetry books in any order you wish. Anyway, going back to the poetry, poem number 8 is NYC, or New York City. And it goes, slow activity as my mind grinds to a halt. I can't jump the turnstile to her heart. She requires a day's wages for access to her garden. A show of hands for those who'd rather see her mass appeal with distinction from the rest, as she turns tricks for global markets. Nature hates a void, hence the big Granny Smith is a whore, but I love her. That's number 8. Poem number 9 is titled Reconnect, and it goes, if I had the time to bring it all together, if I had the chance to make it all better, I'd put my tools away, find a nice place to stay, carry on with unfettered glory, like an old salt with a bottomless collection of sea stories. Not once upon a time fairy tales, but a you're not going to believe this crazy shit account as to when order began to fail. Poem number 9. Oh, excuse me. Poem number 10 is Antithesis. And it goes, my heart is torn between the left and the right. We all want gun control, but there's no life-saving rights for the fetus. Meanwhile, the fascists took from Medicare from wealthy tax breaks. Love heals the heart. Poem number 11 is not titled. It's in my book, Walk in Faith and Eat When You're Hungry, the Jesuit on Steroids. And it goes, take some seeds. There may be a breeze. But sure, if you take root, the bloom is the truth. Believe now it's worth the plow. Poem number 12 is titled Immigration. And it goes, tell me, why are we so concerned? There are over 1 billion Chinese thriving in a country that is smaller than the United States of America. Slightly smaller. Which feeds about 300 million Yanks. Need some room? Annex every country north of Colombia and south of the U.S.-Mexican border, then enforce our American law. Poem number 13 is titled Cruise. Now, another term for cruise is a summer sea term. Summer sea term or cruise was when I attended the State University of New York Maritime College. We were required to do 3 cruises to graduate, and they were 2 months each cruise. The schedule changed since then, though. They do when the first cruise is first and second cruise are 45 days, and the senior cruise, which is the first class cruise, it's actually 90 days. But when I was there, it was 2 months a year. And it goes, the rapid percussion of needle guns shrieks a scraping rolled steel, chipping hammers pecking an impatient rhythm as the bulkhead loses its appeal. Mugs, are you thirsty? Hollers. Yes, chief, they scream. Then swallow your spit, and 10 laps around the Azores they began to steam. No Portuguese beauties for the night. Land will only be on the starboard line of sight. Much further than one can reach, their still toes are fastened to the likes of Steel Beach. Time will give a night to carouse. It'll be 15 days later in Palma de Mallorca, a sailor's gift from our Creator. Plenty of sunshine with Mediterranean style. The Spanish can party for a long while. But until then, underclass learn techniques like how to stand while you sleep, calming on the midnight watch as they're perched on a metal plate, eyeing the furnace fires, waiting for that of the 4 to 8. By the time it is all over, 2 months have passed. The cadets will bend to 3 countries, and for a lifetime, the knowledge and experience will last. That is poem number 13. That's in my first poetry book, Leighton Heater Yearsworth. Now, Latent Heat a Year's Worth was republished just this year, uh, in January, this 2022, by Austin Macaulay. They picked up the book a few years ago. Um, okay, poem number 14 is titled Heart's Cove. Heart's Cove is a body of water inside a body of water called Moriches Bay. The Moriches Bay. It's where the Moriches Inlet is on Long Island. And it goes, "Oh, body, with your surface so calm, I float motionless as a tide of thoughts leave your haven of fond and distant memories. Your depth, all of 5 feet, that ooze through the toes, encouraging positive buoyancy during the swim to your mouse island. A truly barren place. Cancel that for now. I prefer to lie still, and defer such a pulsating thrill, only to remain dormant with the help of my corpulence. Let the current run its course. For if I routinely engage in a rigorous swim, I will fail to float, as fat as burn, and I become slim. So let the tide ebb and flow." Again, I am Peter Leduc, and I am the character in David Fredette's storybooks. That is, The Jesuit Christian Gets His Wings, and Walk in Faith and Eat When You're Hungry, the Jesuit on steroids. They can be found. The books can, all the books can be found at my website, davidfredettebooks.com. I recommend you read the storybooks first before you dive into the poetry. Poetry you can read in any order. The Jesuit first, and Walk in Faith second, as far as the stories go. Okay, poem number 15 is titled Silence. And it goes, "A final tune from FM. Time to think. Yet another siren blares. Ah, as it fades. Eyes closed, but still drawing a blank. Thank God for the break. An opportunity warrants new sounds. The voice of a colleague, internal combustion, the stamp of a time card. It all has relevance. Nevertheless, nothing makes a statement like silence. Shh." Poem number 16 is titled The Basic Steam Cycle. This poem is rather esoteric compared to a lot of the poems I write. But David Fredette writes, I recite. Me, Peter Leduc, recites. Okay, it's rather esoteric, means harder to understand, and you'll find I have 3 poetry books. One is called Late Years Worth. That was my first poetry book. My second poetry book was All Cartoons, Not Chess and Relationship. And my third poetry book is Subtle Passages. Now, the first 2 poetry books, they can be a little bit have more imagery, might be a little bit more obscure, some poems, but I wrote Subtle Passages to water it down, so new readers to poetry can understand it easier. Anyway, Poem number 16 is basic steam cycle, and what David Fredette is kind of trying to convey is the natural cycle of water in our ecosystem or Earth. Um, a very basic concept. It's been known for a long time, um, and but I'm trying to convey the natural aspects of this uh, natural event in our ecosystem. Anyway, so basic steam cycle goes. Um, the feed pump speed balance can be a bit of a challenge. So a subtle differential is corrected with a set of flyweights selected, as a substantial head must overcome the molecular unrest within a 600 psi boiler drum. The chamber where steam is born again after completing a series of bends in a glowing orange furnace, steam complete with sub-electra passes for superheat. By the time it leaves the boiler, it's considered dry by the average oiler, as the vapor's temperature is greater than saturated, a condition favorable for the turbines to be operated. The turbines take the work out of the steam to the point where a liquid is seen, due to the loss of latent BTUs in the condenser where there's a vacuum. The term used is condensate, water in its liquid state, and after it's been reheated and deaerated, the feed pump's head is once again created. Yeah, might be a little difficult to understand, but so basically what I'm saying there is, like the steam cycle, the water on our Earth, it tends to go from um, it will precipitate out of the clouds into the mountains or land. It'll be, and that's condensation and condenses. It becomes runoff. It runs into the rivers and goes out to the ocean, and then it evaporates and goes into the clouds again, and the clouds go over the land, and it precipitates, condenses back to land again. There's the cycle. Okay, poem number 17 is called Longevity, and it goes, yesterday I became slightly more than half my father's age at 45. When I turned a year old, I was 2.2% his middle age. If we both lived past 200, there'd be a 20% difference. Thus, the more expensive our lifespan, the younger we have become in the past. That's number 17. Problem number 18 is cold surf. And it goes, at 60 degrees Fahrenheit, the ocean cures those thoughts. The endless superfluous rumination making the next need to switch to Nextel quite apparent. First, some ankle deep. The feet sting with a frigid blood vessel reality. Staring off over a froth of broken swells. Then I'm up to my waist, chilling the sensitive members to a shade of purple, denying a retreat. Finally, it's the head, chest and head, the call for a complete dunk, an inevitable submersion into a hypothermic impression. I ride a few wave crests and appreciate the fortunate result of crossing the miles-deep oceans for 4 years. I never had to go down with a ship. That's Cold Surf. That's poem number 18. You can find these poems at my website, davidfredettebooks.com. You can read my handle in the upper left-hand screen. The And that's it. And then, okay, we're moving on. I am Peter LeDuc, with the cover on, or the hat, or the bowler, or the derby. Peter LeDuc with the derby on. I'm David Fredette with the derby off. I, Peter LeDuc, have I am the main character in David Fredette stories. David Fredette writes the poems. Peter LeDuc recites them. Moving on, we'll go to poem number 19. And poem number 19 is titled Share. And it goes, a blue frisbee on a lawn unearths thoughts of solemn days and greener pastures. Half-baked wit permeates through the modern still air, with social media and a pinch of time. Why did I leave behind? I could have kept giving it a never-ending toss to my family and friends, and the neighbors adjacent across. Who knows, maybe all YouTube could have caught my drift of a disc with such a hue. Okay. Poem number 20 is titled Mickey Mouse. Now, Mickey Mouse, according to David Fredette, Mickey Mouse is my brother Tom. It's about my brother Tom. According to Peter LeDuc, it's about my brother Sam. If you haven't noticed already, the stories, my stories are fiction, and most of the events are true, but all the names have been changed. So, there you go. And, okay, poem number 20, again, is Mickey Mouse, and, yeah, my brother's a bit of a socialite. He's a gifted individual, but, here it goes. It goes, Steamboat Willie couldn't amuse so many farm animals with an utter toot, hoisted heifer, and sputtered macaw. Believe in him, I say. Charisma shines on his sweated brow with harmonized rafter cuts and subtle shoulder struts, as his planer's edge squares yet up another playing field. Where have I been all the while? As if I'd been the Pete to his own demise. Don't just grimace, Tom needs my smile. Or Sam needs my smile. Okay. That's 10. Or 11. 10. I'm doing 33 poems tonight. Oh. Yeah, I did 20. Now it goes quick. That's poem number 20. I got to do 33 tonight. And poem number 21 is Dan Griffin. Now, this is a true story. When I worked on the Cross Sound Ferry. Cross Sound Ferry goes from Orient Point to New London, Connecticut. Orient Point, New York to New London, Connecticut, New York, Connecticut. And it goes, my first day in July 99 on the job commenced 8 hours prior to the new engineering officer's presence. A clandestine smile of amusement appeared on the smug face of another chief I truly respected and painfully admired. Why couldn't my life now be less of a requiem of faults done past? Why aren't we of similar past, like our ages and studies. It seemed he could never make error. After a month, our polarity began to manifest on my mind, so I then sought to find the brow towards my ride. 4 years ensued after the drive on a rather humorous farm, and there he was on the evening news late. A sailor's boat sank off of Block Island, leaving him all alone, treading water for 48 hours straight. Poem number 22 is titled Altruism. And it goes, I got a pound of pleasure in my right pocket. Better to give than to concede in the human race. The deed may not make the pop charts, but it will most certainly will kindle the spirits. That's 22, altruism. Poem number 23 is titled Turning 50. And it goes, through all the years of staying put, I must release the demons of the hand and foot. Cradled with my big chest out proud, I favor the dates where we're both laughing out loud. Thus they are far and few between. A rarity, I must confess, where's the scene? Lost to age and lame routine. I will never lose the eye for beauty in every woman, though. Poem number 24 is titled Dear Professor Hawking. Now, this is a tribute to the late astrophysicist Stephen Hawking. May he rest in peace. And it goes, Dear Professor Hawking, is the universe as a whole infinitely increasing with entropy? Hence the BTUs reach into the heavens where it may be more cold. Or is there more apparent sign the great expanse of space is reversible adiabatic? Thus our existence is more defined. Can the totality that everything exists have an average temperature measurement? One might need something more than a bimetallic strip. If it has been determined that there's heat transfer from our universe, where does all that lesser form of energy go? We may eternally be nature's thermal source. Does it recycle back to what is nebular? If those nests can only tell us that. Or is the process broader and truly irreversible, a system of constant beginning and never-ending disorder? That's 24, Peter. This is Peter Leduc here. David Fredette writes the poems, and Peter Leduc recites them. And go to davidfredettebooks.com if you're interested in the poetry or the stories, or both. Poem number 25 is untitled. It is in my book, Walk in Faith and Eat When You're Hungry, a Judge on Steroids. It is a tribute to Rachel Carson and her work, Silent Spring. And short little tiny poem. And it goes, still lifes and strewn kites may dazzle our present. Hay bells and sleigh bells, quiet whinnies, but I won't have a clear conscience when the birds stop singing. That's 25. Poem number 26 is titled The General. This is a tribute to George Washington and all those who served in the Revolutionary War. On both sides, that is. Everybody was doing their jobs, I guess. It's war. And it goes, fruity flares sampled with each share gambled on our vast landscape, which slowly took shape. And hot scant battles, valley fort saddles compete with frostbite. Solemn budget trite. Short sentimental, weak continentals continue to bleed as he sows the seeds of time cast in stone by French barons' tone, propagating tax, bricks now stack in Georgia's honor. A district ponders his deep legacy. My country, 'tis of thee. The French baron I refer to, it's actually two French barons, two barons that I think of when I wrote baron. It's Montesquieu, who was a actual French baron in the 17th century, I believe, and he wrote Spirit of the Law, which is the framework to our Constitution, the United States Constitution, Spirit of the Law. So that's one baron, and the other baron is actually a German baron, but he was hired by the French, particularly George Washington, to help George Washington win the war, Revolutionary War. He was actually a German baron. Again, he was hired by the French. So, there you go. Poem number 27 is called The Harvest. And it goes, sleeping years lie behind a row of famished stalks, waiting for their turn. We can turn them to a meal, one mutters with bated breath. Do we have enough for dinner? Patrick is a Vietnam veteran. Moon is 5 months pregnant. And Greg is just hungry. So that's poem number 27. Poem number 28 is Are You Jesus? Title is Are You Jesus? And it's another tribute. It's a tribute to Jim Morrison and the Doors. Hey, Jim Morrison and Ray Manzarek, rest in peace, and God bless them all, including John Densmore and Robbie Krieger, who are still alive, thank God. And it goes, break on through to where? I don't know the other side. I wash my hands when two worlds collide with savage whiskey bars on the left and love me 2 times to the right. No need to light a fire. Candle's wick remains in a stick with enchanted scent. We may get higher after Lent. Spanish caravans are brought tonight with enlightening brushes between forethought and retrieval. Blanket senses that may ruin my sight. Crystal ships pitch, heave, yaw, and sway. 1,000 thrills can't keep it still from the reality that blows across our bow. Unstable lists from flooded voids are kept at bay with one wise choice. Spirits, illumination, transcendence, and choices are brought to light. In the doors, art pieces. So I asked you, Morrison, are you Jesus? That's 28. 29 is the Blarney Stone. And for those who don't know what the Blarney Stone is, basically it is a big stone in Ireland where if you kiss it, you get the gift of gab. And it goes, sharp tongues and clever passes may alter the minds with the gist for fortune and romance. But blatant bits, or shrieking fits, will surely achieve passive solitude. Okay, poem number 30 is titled Easter. And it goes, I'm silent as I look past the deer. Spring winds howl with winter's disdain for heat. A Christian wipes the child, all windows clear. But behind the door, our Lord is raised from dead. Divine visions cast a sense of relief. For now I can dream of pleasant times without the limits when we lack belief. Belief in something that's beyond these lines. Aliens, Buddha, Reverend Moon, J. Christ. We struggle to learn most all that they have taught, all of which may be candidates for life. Maybe it's just another train of thought. But I cannot consume the venison. It is 6 inches tall, made of plastic, right next to the canvas that Christ is on. Transparency? Just fine and fantastic. Okay, poem number 31 is titled Happy and Gay. And it goes, one evening, a spower landed on Lee's head for about 15 seconds. Lee is my quadriplegic nephew. He's a real live Olympian, securing the silver medal in the 2016 Summer Games. Of course, he was happy in both instances. Then again, a shot of B12 and a cup of coffee do the same for me. I can even go further and choose not to take my meds for several weeks. The energy is boundless in such mania. Nevertheless, to the men, sorry for the disappointment. I'm happy and gay with the opposite sex, tremendously and exclusively. Poem number 32 is Memorial Day. And it goes, wherefore out there, soldier, sailor, flight of fancy, plundered flanks, flotillas, and pearls east of fabled tears, demanding grit and true faith. Battle groups row with earthly defiance, and ramshackle patience gather no moss. Deny peace, but try our wits at blood, blade, and torture, lame twists of power, fame, and fortune. I guess it comes down to who started. That's Memorial Day, number 32. And finally, poem number 33 is titled Mother. And it goes, when desperate measures were in demand, she would always understand and reply with an enlightening thesis. Give it to Jesus. Give it to Jesus. 2 years ensued. 2 years have passed. We still go to Mass to elude mortal sin and perhaps see her again. She was warm and casual, like 3 cats in parallel, during a winter's trip above Norway's northern tip. Her message still gives me strength during slumps of great length, but it can be quite calming to quietly sound off, Mommy. All right, that's 33 poems. I might be back tomorrow. I'll talk to you later, everybody. Thank you for watching.